Je peux? C'est parti? So, we are almost at the end. It's always emotional time to be in front of you after 3.5 tremendous days. And I'm showing this slide that you have seen during the first day. And it shows mainly the evolution of the trend on the paper submission in the field that we are covering for the conference. It shows also the focus on two main fields that are waste and biomass to energy, waste and biomass to fuels and materials. This is the core focus of this conference. And to a certain extent, it is good to see that the community has identified those two topics are the main core of this conference, which is good. And the other topics are good also, but at lesser extent. And we have been, yesterday, 240 participants, which is quite good for this conference, which make it the second in the number of participants after the Porto bid. And the people are from, as you have seen, from 51 countries, which is also very successful. And I have no words to say thank you to all of you. And I'm impressed by the dedication of many of you in sessions, discussion. I remember yesterday I went to the panel discussion, and the chair had to stop people since the question were going. Professor Carlo Van de Castillo and Marco Casali were facing this situation and saying, time is over, we have to stop, and people keep talking, which was very good to see. So we're going to talk later on the details on buses, since you may have heard that we have some troubles around Toulouse, but the situation is getting better and better. I hope that before the end of the day, we'll all set on this. And one of important time for this conference is the panel discussion. We have set up some time, limited time, like 50 minutes, for people to discuss on the specific core topic of this conference. We have selected 3 of them based on the picture that you have. The most prominent, of course, was fuel, waste and biomass to fuel and energy using 2 main routes. One is biochemical treatment, another one is thermochemical conversion, and we had 2 panels on that. And there's another topic where there's emerging trends towards new materials, composite, energy storage. This one was led by Professor Yanni van de Venter, Professor Xavier P., and Professor Yanis Pontikis. And they are going to give a recitation, a short recitation, 10 minutes for each panel, to show you what was the discussion, where are things going, the main trends on the Wasteeng's perspective that we could use to, let's say, predict the future research. And as I told you, and we are the assignment from the European Commission who support this conference to write like a conclusion regarding the main trends that they use for defining some of the cores at European level. That's why this conference has a certain leverage on the decision that could be made on the selection of topics. And we use the panel discussion to extract some of the main ideas. That's why I'm going to leave the stage to panel 1. I think the panel 1 was the bioconversions. And they almost left or is somewhere in the city trying to solve the transportation problems. But the restitution is going to be given by Professor Jacques Legrand. Jacques, please. And Nicolas, you could switch to Jacques.
Here you go. Thank you. Thank you, Ange. Yes, the panel discussion was called What's New on Prospect in the Field of Energy and Added Value Materials from Biomass and Waste Using Biochemical Routes. More generally, it's not only biochemical, it's also biotechnological wood. Then I have 3 slides only, maybe we have time to discuss about that. And we are 3 moderators. One is Professor Vasudevan from New Hampshire, and the other one is Willy van Straet from Belgium. Willy was not there, and now he leaves on Tuesday, but Professor Vasudevan is already in this amphitheater. Then, one constant is that due to the low price of energy, many firms in state but also in Europe move from the production of biofuels to the production of bioproducts. Then, now we have to think about the valorization of waste, bio-waste or bioresources by keeping in mind that you have to valorize all the part of this bio-waste or biomass. I mean, you have to find bioproducts to increase the economical aspect of this valorization, but at the end, we can always use this bio-waste to produce bioplastic or bioenergy. Here's the first concept. The other one is what kind of valorization other than energy you can find in bio-waste or bioresource. I think that there were 3 main valorization. One is food, to get from the bio-waste or bioresources, you can use it to produce food. But in this case, if you use wastes or sewage, you have to optimize the process in order to not have this systemization of for example, the fecal aspect. It's a word from Willy van Straet. If you use fecal, for example, sewage in order to produce, by using microorganisms, by produce some biomolecules, protein and so on, you have to take care about this aspect, this social aspect. And then you have to optimize the process in order to answer this type of aspect. For high-value products, you have another route. You can extract some high-value molecules by using optimized process, extraction process, and so on. And for the remaining part of bio-waste or bioresources, you can use it for bioplastic, for example, or bioenergy. Then, the last aspect is that we have to think a global process, generally a global process, and in this case, microorganism is one solution in order to increase the circular economy by using bio-waste or bioresources. Many kinds of microorganisms can be used according to the type of effluent you have, the type of waste you have. You can use bacteria, fungi, yeast, microalgae, it depends. And for that, if you think about circular economy, you have to improve also the modeling tools in order to optimize different aspects. One is, of course, economy, the other is environment, and also energetic optimization of the process. Okay, it's my conclusion. You have to optimize all the things in order to increase the production of bioproducts and bioenergy from waste or bioresources. Thank you very much.
This time, there's no questions. No questions. Just a recitation. Thank you so much for the work done. And the next panel is going to be delivered, the main trends will be summarized by Professor Yanni van de Vente from Australia. A beginner from this conference, has been since a while.
Thank you very much, Ans. Firstly, I would like to thank Ans for not just organizing this conference, but having taken the initiative so many years ago, 11 years ago, to initiate a new direction, I think, in focus on how we deal with waste. And we all, I think, owe him a huge thanks for this initiative. We had a small panel discussion, but a very lively one. And the other moderators have been mentioned already, so this is sort of a summary of what we concluded. In the Paris Agreement, there's a focus on research and development, but importantly, in the second one, emphasized there, is to make use of what we can call internal capacity within organizations. A focus that we'll come back to is that we do not necessarily always need new research to get solutions. It's how you put organizational capacity, funding, and so on together. And I think that is often, we feel, underestimated, where the focus is always on doing something which is really high-tech. Sometimes it takes much longer to get high-tech into operation. Trends in construction materials, without going into too much technical detail, are that, of course, there's a huge shift towards, by customers, especially by the market, towards green materials having low carbon footprint. There's focus on so-called eco-cities, also eco-resorts in some parts of the world. A concept that is established in many cultures, organizational jurisdictions, but not as such branded, would be called prefabrication or modularization. In China, there's a focus on what they call industrialization of construction, which means the same thing. So the analogy here is that instead of building individual buildings in a certain way, you do not build individual cars. You have cars coming off a production line. And if we think of a production line type of way of construction, it is both more environmentally friendly, but you can retain all the architectural features that are otherwise needed. And with China being a huge construction market, I think that is something that will lower greenhouse gas emissions. It also gives the opportunity to introduce new materials, construction materials, such as in the next point, where these kind of chemically activated, some say alkali activated materials are becoming more prominent, at least in research. There's less emphasis on commercialization, but that's taking off, and that also includes the incorporation of carbon dioxide as a bonding agent in changing those type of chemistry. Outsourcing of building management and services is a new trend. For example, instead of just leaving air conditioning, climate control within the building to the owners of the building, the owners may outsource that, in which case the occupants of the building may just pay for the service of getting conditioned air. And that allows the introduction of new technologies. That's a new trend which is not yet there. There has to be a shift in policy. Policy, and we'll come back to that point, often protects incumbent technologies, and the same applies to standards. There has to be a very significant shift, and this is not understood at policy level or by researchers as to the importance of achieving shifts in policy and standards. When we discussed energy storage, thermal energy storage, and we won't go through the detail, it's just one slide to show we've discussed this. Most of the focus at the moment is on latent, not latent energy, but really making use of the specific heat of material. So you get, in simple terms, a material that's heated up to a high temperature and then can quickly release the heat. So there are two properties that are important: specific heat and also thermal conductivity. What we have found is that there's There's a gap between the needs in that industry, in the thermal energy storage industry, and what material scientists could possibly produce. This is predicted as a huge growth industry into the future. Materials that are being used at the moment are sometimes, say, sodium nitrate, where there's very limited capacity available to even service a very small percentage of the future energy needs in this regard. So we have to look at new materials. Silicon carbide has been very successful, but the synthesis of silicon carbide is expensive. There are new attempts to manufacture that from waste materials, but I think we need to look wider into certain concretes, and there were some points in the panel that came out in the discussion that we did not think that this area is fully explored yet. So I think material scientists need to look out for these opportunities and apply their knowledge as well. We had an extensive discussion on what are the obstacles to getting many of these ideas into operation. Existing play, these comments really apply not just to the focus of what we discussed in the panel, but also to waste to energy type of, basically all other waste to some product, value-added product technologies. Existing players, despite what they claim, do not always welcome the introduction of new technologies. Often there is a control over the supply chain of materials. Standards, as I said, are protecting the incumbent players and are really sometimes meant not just to protect the public, but keeping out new potential technologies that may come in. Even legislation, to a large extent, present barriers that people do not always think about. The uncertainty of new technologies present a huge barrier towards investment. So how do we overcome these? It takes a special skill which is well beyond the skills normally, I think, developed by researchers in universities, to integrate the value chain, to look at where you can combine not just material flows with investment capital and the market. All of that has to be done, and you need to see where the barriers are in doing so. It's maybe quite a bold statement, but one often has to avoid existing companies in the space and do not think that existing companies may help. They may say, yes, we are interested, but actually they work against that, seeing a new technology as a threat. So there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to come in and do the deal making. It's actually about the deal making. As somebody said to me a few days ago, how am I going to make money from this? I try to get the waste producer to add value. I try to get the market to accept this, but what about me in the middle? And then my answer was, well, put the deal together, add finance to that. You do not necessarily need to invent a new technology to do that. There would be, in most cases, existing technologies available. And that's exactly the second point there. What I'm trying to say is, do not start with the technology. We, as technology-focused people, tend to start with the technology. Focus on the market first. See where the need is. And then work backwards and say, what is the technology that I can bring in? What materials are available? Because there is a waste available, it does not mean there's a market. But if there is a market, there will be a waste available that you can transform and bring the technology in. And when you have that package available, it is much easier to convince investors as well. Build networks of trust with financiers and also with entrepreneurs, people who've done this before. The skills are, and the trust that you develop with financiers are tremendous to be able to transfer from one type of technology to something which is totally different. That's why if you get pockets such as Silicon Valley where this is done all the time, and I feel the City of London has that kind of richness of experience in translating the experience from one technology to the next. There are pockets throughout Europe doing this as well. I think a country like Australia has been particularly poor in doing this because the culture has not been there in transferring technology into business. To me, this is sort of absent in policy when you look through policy frameworks across the world. A last comment, patents do not always protect as people think they do. I feel there is, and we felt as a panel, there is much opportunity for entrepreneurs to do this. So I'm really putting out the point there, especially with young people. Use your technology background, but look for opportunities, business opportunities, and I think in that way we will achieve many of these objectives which a conference like this sets out to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanni. We're going to move to the third panel recitation. It's going to be given by Professor Marco Castaldi.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Anj has done a great job in this conference, and he has set a very high challenge for the last panel, because he had the last panel occur at 3:40 in the afternoon. Two of the panel chairs had to go to another session and speak and chair, and then we had to go to the gala dinner. So I do not have slides. However, my co-chairs, Professor Carlo Venda Castile and Professor Jean-Michel Lavoie, and myself communicated, and we had synthesized the outcomes of the panel. I want to first thank, of course, the participants. We had a very lively discussion. It basically, the panel name was What's New and Prospects in the Field of Waste and Biomass to Energy and Added Value Materials Using Thermochemical Routes. It's on page 34 of the program. And basically it broke down into sort of three areas. One was we discussed many, many different things, from suitability of the different biomass and wastes for the technologies, to costs of these technologies, mature ones as well as developing ones. The costs were effectively too high. Deployment of the technology and technology transfer from, let's call it, industrialized nations to emerging nations. Is it not possible to see me here? Okay. I understand. Thank you. It was recognized that in these technologies, it was combustion that was the most mature and the most developed. Yet, we see the costs are expensive. And in these new technologies coming up, the question is, will they achieve lower costs or the same? And how does that get implemented? One aspect was that demand will set the price of the different feedstock of waste or biomass. An example was given that the price of biomass had gone up by 3 times because of the energy sector's request for all of it. It was recognized that all biomass and waste cannot be suitable for all technologies, meaning that all biomass is not transferable or fungible. However, blending of biomass, pelletizing, could perhaps help that technology being more uniform and homogenization. There was discussion toward a move in some countries, and the example that I gave was the United States, toward higher hydrogen fuels and how that can impact the carbon dioxide output. The discussion then moved to something very different on the political and the public mindset of how things have to happen. And that's where the discussion got very interesting, because it was recognized that in the EU and the US and developed and industrialized nations, the focus is on sustainability. But in developing and emerging nations and emerging markets, the focus is on access to energy. And right now in emerging markets and developing markets, access to energy means use of fossil fuel because it's cost effective. In addition, emerging markets recognize an issue of waste management, but they also recycle out of necessity not out of sustainability. So there is a little bit of a divide in the industrialized nations where things are being done in the name of sustainability, yet in developing and emerging places, things are being done because they need access and they need resources. It was also at that point recognized that the world should not be viewed binary, developing and industrialized. The world should be viewed as a spectrum. Some countries are more or less developed and industrialized. And that made a recognition that markets are a spectrum of development. And because that market is a spectrum of development, that means that certain technologies may be able to be incorporated at different stages. So if we do not think of it as binary and we think of it as a spectrum, we might be able to find where different technologies, mature or emerging, can fit into those markets and start to gain traction, if you will. This then led to a little bit of a discussion on the role or the challenge to academia. The challenge, if you will, or the role to academia was recognized that we need to do research that is relevant and that we have a gap in terms of the type of research and work that's being done in academia with what politicians and industry are pushing forward as solutions. And that comes back to the challenge to academia. Doing forward research, it must be properly and effectively communicated to decision makers and the public. And then this finally moved to sort of the summary thoughts that we had in the panel discussion, that municipal solid waste and urban wastes is a common problem to all. There is nobody without it, whether it's an industrialized nation or a developing nation. We had seen some of that in some of the presentations yesterday as well. But the technology developments need to continue because the use and the extraction of resources from that waste, especially energy, but then followed by materials, is an opportunity. And that needs to be better integrated with technologies that are lower costs, which are better transferred from industrialized areas to emerging areas, and hopefully that would lead to more acceptance. And finally, what was recognized, that none of this could happen without political and economic stability. Political and economic stability is paramount to enabling the technologies, to changing the mindset, and to ensuring that the resources are utilized sustainably. So that's what came out of our panel discussion. That's what came out of you who participated. Thank you.
You don't need slides, Marco. You got it. You made it. So what you're going to do after these three presentations, I remind you that we're going to have topical issues for selected papers, and the deadline for submission is somewhere around June 15. And the preface and the welcome message will be composed. I didn't talk to the chair, topical chair, the panel chair, but we're going to do this. We'll put those ideas together and shape a good prospective paper that will be on the cover of the issue. If I will talk to them. If they agree, we're going to do this. I have this as a forefront message to deliver in the first issue. Okay, it has been quite difficult to put together this conference, as you could guess. And for this, you need a very strong team to overcome whatever difficult you could meet during the 18 months that are needed to put this conference together. And I could count on my people. As you have seen, they have been everywhere taking care of everything. And I don't know how to express my deepest gratitude to them. I just want to call them. And the forefront, I have Javier. He doesn't like the stage, but today it's special. He has to come. Javier. And I have to find Elsa is somewhere, and Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, Anne-Marie, please. Anne-Marie, please. I don't know where he's Elsa, and if someone can find him, okay. Reviens. Okay, she's gonna come. And these are Elsa is coming. As you have seen, this is the core team, and they have been able to, I don't know how to say, it was great. Just to say great. Merci beaucoup. Okay. Merci beaucoup. I was surprised to see how 4 brains together in the same direction could do, and the powerful of making people believe on a project. And this is what happened to us, and we have been able to overcome a lot of troubles. Even on Sunday, when it was raining, a storm, I was in a very bad shape, seeing all my people on the planes everywhere, and finally we could get all of you. It was just great. Thank you so much for that. So, another key part of the skeleton, as you have seen, is our students. They have been everywhere, driving our visitors and fixing taxi problems and concern. Some of you were even sick, and we have to find doctors, and the students were bringing people whatever needed. It was absolutely great. I just want to call them all. Please join me, toute l'équipe, s'il vous plaît, and the students. Augustina, tout le monde. Where's Nathalie and Ruby? Ruby? Où est-ce qu'elle est, Ruby? Non, il faut chercher Ruby. Participer, elle doit être là. There is no way else. We need everybody today. I told you. Everything has been possible because of them. I would like to thank them. Thank you to you. Merci beaucoup pour tout ce que vous avez fait. And we have a company working with us in charge of secretariat, taking care of registration, all the administration stuff. We focus on research side mainly, and this is a private company, but they are part of the game and part of the venture. I'm going to call them Sophie, toutes les deux, et Violaine. You have seen people from Carte Blanche responding to your messages. Those are Carte Blanche people. Thank you. Merci beaucoup à tous. C'était génial de travailler avec vous. Merci beaucoup. À très bientôt. Okay. So now we are very close to the end. I like to take the time always. And as you have seen, this conference is quite busy, because we have, of course, the parallel tracks going on. We have the plenary lectures. And last time I've been asked by close people like Professor Temilis or Professor Carlo van de Castile to increase the number of keynote lectures and to supplement the plenary lectures. And this is what we did. This time we had around 24. It was also important time for the conference. And in addition to this, we had the panels, we had the poster sessions, we have award committees. And before giving the stage to our vice dean, and we have continued the experience made yesterday on the poster awards, and because we have been able, on the two main topics I just mentioned, to select two papers. Nicola, maybe you can help me to display that one. And we have selected two best papers of the conference. And I would like to call this selection committee composed with, I think this one, the last slide, it should be. Okay, okay, stop. Don't show the decision first. And the commission was composed by Professor Marco Castelli. Did you join me, Marco? Dr. Hélène Carrère. Hélène should be somewhere. Where is Hélène? Oh, Hélène is here. And now Marco Baratier. Marco, please. Thank you. Thank you. And we had also Professor Libertas, but he's missing. He has some work. He stayed in a hotel this morning. And again, within a tough schedule, I'm so grateful they could accept. I'm amazed. I keep asking things to do to many people. And they always say, yes, we're going to do it because it's going to help the conference to be successful. These are those people. They've made this. I asked you Tuesday, and you have been able to go into all the sessions to identify the best papers. And we came up with the two main decisions. These are the two best papers of the conference. The one is on thermochemical conversion, and by Carla Dusan. I don't know if she is here. Carla, please. And the second, biochemical conversion by Gayan Baek and all the team. Is anyone from the team here? They are not here, but we're going to just... Congratulations. Okay, we have, please, go to... They are the ones who decided to... Good job. Okay, and the best paper is given by Springer. It's 400 euros in books that you could select. We are going to provide a catalog. You can select. This is your by Springer. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we are almost done, and I would like to, once again, some of you have been working with us, sharing this venture since the beginning. I'm so grateful you could rely on us where we started without nothing, and since then we have this sort of strong community. And I was told also that the main trend is like the level of a presentation and the plenary lecture are keep increasing. It's a sign of maturity of the teams, of the labs, and we have to follow this trend and provide you with the best we can. This is what we're trying to do with the session chairs, with a lot of people. It's really a teamwork. This is what I really like. And the only thing I have to do now, and just to let you know that for the next one, we have so far 8 candidates, 8 countries willing to welcome the next one. And this decision is not going to be made today because we need to talk to them and see what's the project. But it's a good sign. It means that people believe on the conference, and they believe that they could make it better, which is good also. And 8 candidates make sense, and we'll see in the future. And the only thing I have to do now is to thank you for all and wish you a nice and safe trip back home before having the last word concluded by our Dean of Research, Dr. Frédéric Thivet. Thank you so much for everything.
Okay.
So, as Vice Dean of the school and Dean for Research, I'm very proud to have this mission to close this very nice international conference. Very nice because I'm convinced that you are working on topics that have really a tremendous importance for the future of humanity and the planet. And it's also really nice to see researchers that are not only concerned with scientific and technical issues, but are also passionate by issues related to our social and societal responsibilities. So it's not so common in the scientific communities. Finally, I have also felt that this conference was for many of you a great opportunity to open your mind to a lot of other ways to address these issues and to share and to give you a lot of new ideas. So yesterday night during the gala dinner, I had a very nice experience with you, and I could feel deeply that your scientific community is very nice and I would say very well welted. I don't know if you say welted for a community, but what I want to say is that it's really visible that you people know and appreciate very well each other, and that the community is also very open and welcoming to young researchers. I especially appreciated that the sponsorship, one of the sponsorship is dedicated to invite 12 students from developing countries, so it's also a strong sign of the spirit of this community. So it seems also that this conference is very important to you, since Ange just said that there are already 8 applicants from 8 different countries to host the next edition. So I am also very, very proud that this year Wasteeng was hosted by École des Mines d'Albi. And that's so that it means that École des Mines d'Albi is for a while the only place to have hosted this conference twice. Okay, so I think it's now the time for my last word, and I want definitively that it serves to congratulate again with you, the organization team, that actually did a magnificent work to make this event what it has been in École des Mines d'Albi, and of course at the head of this organization team, the distinguished Professor Ange Ziou. So please stand up to congratulate them with me.
Nicolas, peut-être que je vais avoir besoin d'aide. Je ne suis pas sûr. Maybe I need okay, this one. Alma is somewhere if I'm wrong. So, and for the visit of the Rhapsody Lab this afternoon, don't look at this slide. This is wrong. Let me check the previous one. Okay, this is wrong too. Okay, forget about this. Just listen to me, please. And we're going to meet right after lunch. For those willing to visit the lab, we're going to meet at the reception desk, and a team will come to pick you up and go for the tour. And for tomorrow, and after the tour, since it's a big group, we're going to give you a ride. We'll bring you back to the hotel. Don't worry about the transportation for those staying in the campus. Even if you don't go for the tour, if you want to stay nearby, and we can pick you up once the tour is finished and bring you back to the hotel. For tomorrow, and the buses will leave for Novergy at 8:30 in the city center. You know the places where we have been picked up this week. And from here at 8:45. And after the visit, the shuttle bus will go to the airport. If there is a drop-off, it's going to be easier. All your belongings will be in a bus. You don't have to worry about this. While you will be visiting, someone will be taking care of the belongings. And the same for Trifil. There's a mistake here. It's not going to the return bus is not going to the city centers. It is going to the airport as well, okay? You don't have to worry. Same, you're belonging within the bus, and if you want to come back, there will be another bus to bring you back. There's two directions after the visit, one straight to the airport, another one for those willing to stay over the weekend around and enjoying. That's it. Thank you. Now it's time for lunch, and thank you for everything.